Hey everybody, it's Terry at Painted Garden Farm, and I am just here to tell you real quick that I am going to show you the video of trying to put my garden beds together. It's going to be short, it's abbreviated because my camera battery died in the middle of making it, and that's okay. I will show you the completed product, and I will give you my thoughts and feelings on these garden beds after the video's over. So I will see you in about 20 minutes or so after you see how you'll get the idea on how to put them together, and that it's not rocket science, and it's definitely simple assembly that anybody can do, and as long as they're a grown-up and don't cut themselves on metal. So away we go to assemble the garden beds, and I will see you again at the end of this video. Alright, I'm going to go around here. Hi, once again, it is Terry at Painted Garden Farm, and it's a beautiful spring day here in Zone 6B in Massachusetts, southeastern Massachusetts. We have 0.37 acres here. It's not a lot of land, but it's enough for us to grow some food and do some basic things. And today I'm going to be showing you the assembly process for this Stratco. Let me just bring it around front here. For this Stratco raised garden bed kit. Some assembly required. So I'm hoping that I'm in this shot enough for you to see me and see everything that I'm doing. Once we get down to it, you'll only need to see my hands and the parts, but I should be all here according to my lineup shot. Anyway, I put one of these together already yesterday so that I would make my mistakes on the first round and you wouldn't have to watch me muddle my way through everything. And so here we go. If you haven't been here before, my goal is to show everybody how to do some things old school. After 2020, I think a lot of people feel like they want to learn to do things old school just in case. And it's fun, it's educational, it's all useful tools to be able to do some of these things. Whether you believe we're due for an apocalypse or not. I'm on the fence, so I figure better safe than sorry, and I like doing this. Gardening has been something I've always liked. When I was a little kid, I got a packet of mixed flower seeds and a little teeny 1x2 piece of dirt my mother let me plant them in, and all that came up was the marigolds, but I was hooked ever since. Marigolds will grow in anything. That dirt wasn't very good. So anyway, that's what got me started, and I always, everywhere I went, I loved looking at flowers, beautiful flowers everywhere. We went to Disney World, and my biggest takeaway was the pansies that were in all the raised beds all through Disney World, because it was February, and you know, it was cool at nights, and pansies are cool tolerant, and they were just big, huge faces on those pansies enraptured me, and so I couldn't wait till I could plant pansies. And then I started planting food kind of by accident, experimentally, a couple of pots on our deck at our old house, and once I tasted a homegrown tomato, I never looked back. I started going forward from there. My goal was to get much more land than what we actually ended up moving to, but now I'm old, so I don't know if I could handle an acre. But don't tell my husband that, because I just like to kick him every once in a while with, should have got me an acre. But we're going to see what we can do with less, because supposedly you should be able to grow everything you need on a quarter acre, so we'll see. Part of ours is taken up by a pool, so I might be growing on a quarter acre. So anyway, the Stratco raised garden bed, I originally wanted Birdie's raised garden beds. They're out of my budget right now. These are similar, definitely not exactly the same, but it's corrugated metal. It should hold up well. It's pretty easy assembly, and I'm going to show you how I put it together right quick. And we'll see how they hold up over time. Doing things old school does not mean avoiding modern conveniences. Get what you can get. Use what you can use. If you need to grow your food or want to grow your food, there's no law that says you're not doing it old school if you use something that's prefab. Use what you can use. That's what homesteaders and prepared people are all about. If something makes your life easier, take full advantage. So, step one, get your stuff out of the box. So we have two lengths, obviously, the ends and the sides. These are 46 by 35 by 12 inches high. The rest of the parts, so we have that was in there. Alright, so you have your instruction papers. Now they have instructions for doing it two different ways. One way would be to just put together these pieces as a 12-inch high bed. Another way would be to stack them. You can overlap them and stack them into a double bed if you want. So they do have instructions on the back side for doing that, which I started reading and going, what? Till I realized what I was looking at. So I am going to keep my instructions handy just in case I forget something from yesterday. The tools you need, which I did not get out of the deck room, are very simple. You just need a screwdriver and some pliers. And if you're a safety nut, you want some safety gloves because there are sharp edges. Be prepared for that. If you consider yourself a very careful person that can get around the sharp edges, go ahead and skip the gloves. I did because I can't handle bolts and wing nuts with gloves on. I just lose them. I can barely hang on to anything with my bare hands. So, plastics we don't want going around the yard. We'll put those in the trash later. They can blow for now. So you have a bag of bolts and wing nuts, and they do give you extra in case you drop them in the grass and can't find them. Your 4 corner plates, 2 in each package, and your 4 corner caps, which is, this is where I had trouble figuring out how to put them on exactly right. And then even after I figured it out, I put it on wrong because I wasn't paying attention. Let me grab my tools that I left inside. Alright, it's time to ditch the fleece sweater. Okay. Alright, so step one is, first I want to have this out of my way. So the first part, you need to just have your short ends, and you need to have your caps, you need to have your corner pieces. Now every corner of these things is sharp, so just be aware of that. Plus they staple these bags, so you're risking stabbing yourself with staple edges, scratching and scraping yourself 8 ways from Sunday if you're not paying attention. So, the word Stratco is embossed into this. That's going to be on the bottom. You're going to line up the holes so that this is on the outside of this. Line your holes up. I did this by myself. If you have somebody to hold your pieces for you, you can do this twice as fast as me. I'm going to use up the extras I had yesterday. I should just put them all in my pocket because that's the easiest place to keep them. So you're going to put the bolts through the 3 bottom holes. What will be the 3 bottom holes along where it says Stratco embossed into the metal. And you just want to put these finger tight for now and tighten everything up later. At the end when you have it all done right, correctly. Just enough so that you know it's not going to go anywhere. And then you're going to take your corner cap, these little tabs down, just bring it up close so you can see it because I know I'm kind of far away. So these little down tabs are going to go between the 2 pieces you have. So between the corner piece and your end wall, that's where the little tab's going to go. So it's going to go obviously following the shape of your thing, of your corner. So it's, oh, I have to open my other pack of bolts. So there was 3 extra bolts and wing nuts in that other pack, which I always appreciate extra pieces. And instead of, so these little bolts and wing nuts, just so you have a close-up of these, wing nut, in case you've never seen one, little short 1/2-inch bolts. Okay, very easy to assemble. So I keep them in my pocket rather than having them rolling all over the place. Put that part together. Okay, and I'll do the other end exact same way. Corner piece with the tab on the inside of the corner bracket. You have no idea how much more smoothly this is going compared to yesterday when I was trying to figure it out. No idea whatsoever. Okay. Right, so one end prepared. And repeat with the second end. I'm gonna do this side first. Know why? Because being a righty, for some reason doing the left-hand side of this was more difficult, and I'd rather get the trickier part out of the way first. Tricky part out of the way first, always. It's like when you have to eat those vegetables you don't particularly care for. Eat them first, then the rest of your meal is like dessert, and then dessert is like double dessert. Okay. Not that I grow any vegetables I don't like. Don't do it to myself anymore. I don't care how good for me they are. Just like President Bush said. I don't like broccoli. Now that I'm President of the United States, I don't gotta eat it. I like broccoli. I'm not a fan of cooked green beans, especially not French cut ones. And I'll grow beans, and I like them in, I love beans in like a 3-bean salad. With it marinated in some lovely Italian dressing. I don't mind them. See, I just lost a wing nut somehow. It was here a second ago. Oh, it's in between the corrugateds. There we go. Speaking of wing nuts, turning into one. Okay, let's talk. Oh, twisting. All right, there we go. There's the crappy end. Now here's the better end, the easier one. Refill my pocket in a second. I managed to have the exact number of wing nuts and bolts in my pocket that I needed without any extras. How fortuitous. Alright. Did I not get any bolts in this handful? Okay. So I got my cap on. It's the final cap. Lining up 3 holes is not as easy as lining up 2, but can be done. And this has a little manufacturer defect on the end of this. It's just folded over a little bit at the very end of this corrugated panel by like 1/8 of an inch. It's like if somebody just, you know, had a stack of papers and tapped it on the edge of the table and one little piece bent at the end. So it's not going to cause any issues, and it just kept it from lining up right. But now that it's twisted on, I'm sure once I screw everything tight together, it's not even going to be noticeable in any way, shape, or form. It's not even now. Alright, so now we've done the start. We've done the biggest part of the work. And all we have to do is attach the length. So doing it on this table, yesterday I took everything and transferred it to where you guys are sitting in the camera on the picnic table. So we won't be doing that today. So this is the outside, here's the inside. I'll do the part closest to me first. Now this is where it would be really super handy to have another person around to hold pieces. I don't have another person around because my husband is working. And yesterday he wasn't around because he was busy doing nothing while I was out here busting my butt doing these things. And he was on the phone and I didn't want to bother him. So this one has a little bend in it too. So I didn't have any little weird bends in the other box. And I'm just guessing in shipping and stuff because they're in a cardboard box wrapped in another cardboard box. They're probably just, you know, when it gets dropped on send. I mean, we could have done it when we put it in the garage and propped it up. So there's a little bend in here, but it's not going to make any difference because besides, you know, they overlap each other. It's covered up. It's aesthetically not a problem. It's functionally not a problem. I don't care. And then even a teeny little bend in the opposite direction on the other end I can see from here. But it's not a problem unless somebody were to make it a problem. And I know there are customers in the world that will pitch a fit over the slightest imperfections and things. I'm not that customer. And if it was an issue, I would, you know, expect the company to do their best to rectify the situation. But I would ask politely. It's just a hint to any people that think they can attack retail workers and make them do their bidding on things that are out of their power. Okay. So, the way I figured was the smartest way to do this is to put them together finger tight, starting with the top, continuing with the bottom. And again, still be careful because you still have sharp edges. Here. Pardon me while I line things up. There we go. Once the bolt is through, it's smooth sailing, but it's just being at this angle, it's hard to see where the hole is. It's also hard to see where the bolt is to put the wing nut on it. I'm doing it all by feel. That's why I'm not wearing gloves, because it ain't gonna happen if I do. Alright, so now I just have the tool. See, that was crooked. That made it uneven and not lined up while I was doing it. So now inside of this little cap is a little bit sharp, not wicked, but you hit it right, I'm sure it can do some damage. Again, we're still doing finger tight because once it's all together, you'll be able to really square it up and use your screwdriver to hold the screw in place. And then you will be able to tighten up your wing nuts completely. And that's a speedy process. Okay. Now that that's on, this side should be a little bit closer to a piece of cake. Knock my gloves on the ground because I need knock my tools on the ground. But I need my surface space. Okay, so as I explained, my camera died while I was assembling this bed, but as you can see, I did manage to get it all together. The sides are on, the length is on. I've put it on the ground with cardboard under it because cardboard is mulch for starting beds, and it's perfect for killing the grass underneath the bed so that you don't end up with grass growing up through your garden. So you can see all my successful little wing nuts on there, and my corners are in perfectly. And this other one I've started filling with soil, and it's got about 3 bags of soil in there, plus I put my Christmas wreaths that were hanging on the house into the bottom of it to fill up some of the space so I don't have to fill it entirely with soil, and those will break down. And then as I top dress with compost over the years, when those settle in, it will refill it. I also have cardboard in between because I'm going to put mulch down here between all the beds for walking paths because grass and muck won't work. I've added a row of broccoli to this garden. I've added more soil. And that window box there I just put in to protect the window box and keep it from blowing around because we've been having a lot of windstorms lately, but I put lettuce seeds in that window box. I'm just using that for those temporarily. Lettuce is a cool season crop, so once I harvest all the lettuce out of that, I will turn around and put the window box along the bottom of the fence, probably with some climbing flowers like morning glories or those flowering peas that are for good for food dye. I saw earlier my very first pea sprout, and can I get it in here? Let me get it in focus. Oh, I guess can't focus it too good, but it's there. It's a pea. It's that whitish thing in the middle here. It's a pea coming out of the ground. And there is another, ooh, head rush, pea. I thought it was just floating to the surface, but it's actually sprouting. And I think there was one more of these. Oh yes, right there is a tiny green sprout. So peas can take up to 3 weeks to sprout. The soil's kind of cold still, so it'll take a little bit. I put some broccoli in here because the ones I planted in the seed starting trays got too leggy because I had them by the window and they were stretching for the light. They're not under growth light, so it's not really gonna work out, but I will probably try throwing one of them into a bed once I get more soil in here, just to see what happens. And I'm hoping as I fill this up I can put in some cabbage, and then later some of the tomatoes will go in here and in the nasturtiums, and melons and things like that. I'll do some vertical growing. So that's it for the raised beds. And these again are Stratco raised beds. Once the soil's in them, they're not going to go anywhere. They're fairly solid. We'll see how they hold up over time. But I believe they're aluminum. I don't think they'll rust. And like I said, you just need something to hold your dirt in a square or a circle. Oh, another side note. In this, we used to use this as a flower planter at the old house. Right now it's a radish planter. It may hold flowers again. I see nasturtiums in its future. But and maybe zinnias. But for now, it's holding radishes. I just put seeds in. French breakfast radish seeds that I saved from the last time I planted them at the old house. Alright, well that's it. I thank you very much for watching. Please hit like and subscribe. I don't know if I'm in this shot or not. But if you would hit like and subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. I greatly appreciate your time and attention. And have a fabulous day. Take care.